With the Madden Ultimate Team season just around the corner, it's important to find a reliable site. Introducing MUTReserve.com. Find all your coin needs there, and while you're there, make sure to use code RENDER for 15% off. What's up guys, we're back again with another Madden video, and today we had some crazy breaking news throughout the NFL. Leonard Fournette was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Released, not traded for, not, packaged in a deal to get more draft picks. He was released into free agency, into the deep waters to be picked up by any team that potentially wants him. So what I thought would be a great idea would to be put together a few different teams that would more than likely want to go after Leonard Fournette. And the first team that I thought would be desperate to acquire him would be the Chicago Bears. After David Montgomery went down with his injury, who was at least missing probably a quarter of the season, probably at least maybe 4 games, I think this is the best move the Chicago Bears can make. You add a Leonard Fournette, who in my opinion is way better than Montgomery, a guy that you are signing for maybe $4 or $5 million. You will run him into the ground this season and use everything you possibly can, and then potentially either you sign him and keep him for the long foreseeable future, or you trade him for picks. Either way, this is a win-win for Chicago Bears, in my opinion, and I think this could drastically change the landscape of this offense. But without further ado, before we get into today's video, I do ask that if you enjoyed today's content, consider smashing the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Without further ado, let's look at Leonard Fournette in a Bears jersey. All right, standing at 6 feet tall, 228 pounds soaking wet, Leonard Fournette is an 84 overall with only 3 years experience in the league. He still has superstar development, so he will definitely progress this season if he plays well. And plus, look at that shiny bald head, man. I tell you what, graphics are so bad in this game. It looks horrible, but nonetheless, I'm excited to see what happens with this. Looking at his stats, okay, 92 speed, pretty fast running back, 85 break tackle, 96 carrying, so he's very adamant on holding onto the ball and not fumbling it. 90 truck is very solid, 86 stiff arm, 85 juke, 83 spin, 79 change of direction is kind of the only one I would be a little bit concerned with, because in this game, change of direction really dictates how well the player can maneuver around the field. And so I guess he kind of is just a straight line drive running back, but look to see that potentially improve as he plays throughout the season. Overall, though, looking at maybe potentially his abilities, he has tank, so ball carriers with this ability will break almost any hit stick tackle attempts made on them. That sounds overpowered. And he gets potentially another ability slot unlocked at overall 85. So to be fair, this is a really good fit for Fournette. I think he could have it easily a 1,000-yard rushing season. And if he plays well the first couple weeks of the season, expect to see David Montgomery kind of play a passive role. Montgomery didn't play well last year, and we have at least seen Fournette with a heavy workload produce decently. Montgomery did not produce decently in my opinion, so I think this is a huge upgrade for the Chicago Bears. So without further ado, let's get this simulation started. All right, let's get started. One season, everybody knows the rules. We'll jump to the mid-season point to see how our man Leonard Fournette's doing. Let's go. All right, at the mid-season mark, the tendency that we usually look for are individual stats. How are they performing? Running the ball, yards per carry, touchdowns, receptions, even if you will, and also team accolades. How is their team doing with them being an addition to the team? Are they better than we expect? Are they less, or are they worse than we expect? All those are kind of going into the mindset of, was this acquisition worthwhile? And so we look at rushing for the season. Leonard Fournette is tearing it up. 94 attempts, 94 carries for 455 yards on 4.8 yards per carry. Very, very good. Anything really above 4.5, in my opinion, is phenomenal in this league. And 5 touchdowns, he's on pace for almost 1,000-yard season and 10 touchdowns. One thing that you will notice in Madden simulations, if you do them enough, is that typically that second half of the year is really when running backs and receivers get their legs underneath them and In my opinion, I think we could see Fournette ending with 1,200 yards this season. Will that happen? It all depends on how the line holds up, but I think this is definitely possible. Let's look at the team overall to see how Fournette's impacting his team. All right, at the midseason mark, the Bears are at an even 4-4. In my opinion, pretty solid. This is one of the, I would say, top 3 toughest divisions in the NFL right now. I think the Lions with Matt Stafford back are very, very scary. The Packers with obviously Aaron Rodgers, you can't really ever count them out. The Vikings have a Kirk Cousins. They just added Yannick Ngakoue, so their defense will be tremendous. This is a really tough division, and the fact that the Bears are 4-4 right now, I think that's better than what I predicted them to be at, in my opinion. I think the Bears are really like a 5-11 team this year, potentially. I just don't think their offense is good enough, but I think Leonard Fournette's kind of pushing them over the cusp of from being average to actually an kind of on the up and up offense, in my opinion. So, 200 points that they've put up so far this season is not bad. That's actually leading the division. So offensively, they're doing great. The downside is their defense is kind of crashing, which is disappointing because the Bears defense is regarded as typically kind of a staple in the NFL. So 4-4 record at the midseason mark, not bad, not great, but Leonard Fournette is definitely impacting that offense. Let's see if he can push them into a potential wild card berth. All right, at the end of the season, just looking at the quarterback stats, because it's always interesting to see how Mitch Magic does, and he didn't play bad. Around 4,000 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 61 completion percentage is pretty bad. But overall, Trubisky didn't have a bad season. Is that because Fournette opened the box up for him and allowed him to pass? That's my guess, right? But is that the definite? You never can tell. But let's look at Fournette, and he finished the season. Wow. He just didn't get a lot more attempts. And if we look here, Cordarrelle Patterson, a wide receiver, got 154 carries. Anybody want to explain to me why that makes any sense whatsoever? This was one of the issues that I found when I got into this simulation, is that Cordarrelle Patterson is a running back in this. And I get it. He does a lot of that in the NFL, but he's a wide receiver. There's no question about that. So I changed him to a receiver so he wouldn't be getting these types of rushing attempts. And lo and behold, he does. This is another reason why Madden franchise is so bad. It's pathetic in my opinion. The fact that we see a receiver getting 154 carries for the season. He's a receiver. You shouldn't be getting that. You should be getting in the, range of maybe 50 if you are that kind of option for your team. But 154 as a wide receiver is pathetic in my opinion, and it takes away from Leonard Fournette's potential amazing season. Fournette still played well, 4.6 yards per carry for almost 800 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. If you take away those 150 or even 100 of those carries, you could easily see Fournette breaking that 1,100 rushing yards and 12 or 13 touchdowns. Overall, Fournette had a good season. It was definitely tainted by the fact that franchise mode's horrible, and Cordarrelle Patterson shouldn't be getting 150 attempts in one season as a receiver, mind you, after I changed it. All right, looking at the team results, and it shows. The Bears, who were at the top of offense for the division, have dropped off drastically. They are now third in the division for offense and got absolutely destroyed on defense. The defense, that really hasn't changed. They kept it pretty split when it came to 200 at the midseason mark and 200 more points roughly that they got scored on. But it was the offense that took a step back, and it's because of Cordarrelle Patterson. Cordarrelle Patterson was a huge crutch for Leonard Fournette. And I don't know why, again, it does this. I'm not going to complain anymore about it because I just know Madden franchise is trash. But it's frustrating to see that. And so because of that, the Bears did not continue on the path of potentially making the playoffs. They finished the 6-10 record, which is about what I expected them to be in the regular season. But when you add a guy like Leonard Fournette, you see a couple more wins, in my opinion. All right, at the end of the season for MVP, Josh Allen takes home MVP honors, and this wouldn't really surprise me. Maybe not this year, but in the years to come, where this guy's got a cannon of an arm, he's very mobile, he's in a kind of an offensive scheme that allows him to be a little bit of both. Josh Allen could definitely be MVP in the upcoming years. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No, I don't think you ever will be unless he just improves vastly in regards to accuracy. But very interesting with that. Coach of the Year, Sean Payton. It's a very consistent coach that we see being Coach of the Year. The Saints are a very solid team, so 13-3 does not surprise me at all. Really the one we're looking at is NFC, and we're looking at running back, because we know that Leonard Fournette won't take home really that much. But does he even get top 10? And he doesn't. And again, this is because of Madden simulation and franchise mode and making Cordarrelle Patterson rush for 150 attempts. So again, super disappointing with that, right? But nonetheless, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to be doing different ones of these. I'm going to be seeing how Leonard Fournette plays with the Eagles, with the Buccaneers, and maybe another team. We'll see. But again, thank you all so much for watching. Again, if you enjoyed today's content, consider subscribing to the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next Leonard Fournette simulation. Take care, guys.
What we do here is go back.